Hey gang, welcome to Bald Eagle Fishing Adventures. And boy, do I have some great information for you guys today. I'm really excited to share with you. So on my last video, I had talked about that I was going to be putting together, equipment, jigs, how I'm planning on fishing the deep water structures. And what I'm talking about is the opener here for Northern California, May 15th, for deep water rockfish, 300 feet or deeper. So anyways, I've got a lot to cover and I just want to dive right into this and let's just get going. So 35 years ago, roughly, I was introduced to deep water. That's what we had at the time. And the charter boats that I went on was the New Rayan, and the other boat was Jaws. New Rayan was out of Sausalito, still up and running today, and we fished near the Farallones. And we were fishing fairly deep water. I don't know the exact depth, but we were fishing fairly deep. It wasn't really though until I started fishing on Jaws, which was out of Bodega Bay, and we were going out to Cordell Banks. At the time, Cordell Banks was open. So that was my real true experience of deep water rock fishing. And I'm going to give you what I saw, what was taught to me, and what I saw with fishermen that did very well and those that did okay. And so what I saw initially was guys using, and pretty much all of you know that this is a diamond bar. This is a diamond jig, and I have several of these on board, but usually about 6 to 8 ounces. This is a 1 pounder, and this is what we were using at the time, and we were using monofilament, 50-pound monofilament. So getting to 300 feet or deeper was quite troubling. It was an issue, to say it the least. So what we ended up doing, and I don't even think we had torpedo sinkers back then. I don't remember seeing them, but we had those, standard round weights, the ones like you would, clip to your line for salmon fishing. But now we have these torpedo ones, and what we did back then is we would take the diamond bar and we would actually attach the 1 pound weight right to the top of this, leaving the hook and stuff down here. That's how we were able to fish 2 pounds of weight down to the bottom, and we did fairly well. We would end up, getting into nice reds and lingcod and all those other great fish. So that was then. What we're looking at now of fishing deep water is being able to use braid, and that's something we didn't have back then. And braid, I think, is going to allow us to cut through the water a lot nicer, get down to that deeper structure a lot easier. And I'm hoping that we can do it with just 1 pound. 16 ounces, I'm hoping is all that it's going to take. And I'm going to go over a few things. I got a few little tricks here, some things that if there is kind of a fast current or maybe the breeze kicks up, there's some ideas and things that you can do to still get this down deep enough to where the fish live. Now, again, the perfect world would be just using 1 pound. But if we need to, we can always attach an 8 ounce, if making this a 1.5 pounder, or if we needed to, we could actually go to the full 2 pounds. I really, really don't think that's going to be necessary, but good to have it anyways, just in case. And I'm just going to do a quick show here in a bit of how we attach that. So anyways, diamond bar. Chrome diamond bar, this is basically the go-to. This was the workhorse of the fleet, when we were out there fishing. A lot of guys were throwing this. A lot of guys were using 2 pound round weights and shrimp flies, and shrimp flies worked extremely well out there. So I would assume that would be the case again. But we have so much newer and greater stuff now than we ever had back in that day. And so I'm going to show you what I think would be a great combination of things to do in deep water. So first off, if you take anything from this video, the most important thing I think I can share with you guys is glow in the dark. And I can't stress that enough. When you're fishing that 300-foot depth and deeper, it's dark down there. And I think from what I saw, my experience, the guys back, in the day that had anything that kind of glow in the dark that they could put on their lures, anything of that sort. I mean, even line lights. I don't even think we had line lights back in the day, but there was some glow in the dark stuff. Matter of fact, there was even some shrimp flies that had some glow in the dark. They were hard to find, but boy, what a difference those made. I mean, you could easily outfish anybody else 2 to 1. I mean, the moment those things hit the bottom, or even beforehand, you had a fish on. So glow in the dark. So I have here a 1-pound diamond jig, glow in the dark, and all of a lot of this stuff here is by Pitbull Tackle, one of my favorite companies to buy stuff from. It's great quality. They do a hell of a job putting this stuff together, and there's several places they carry it. I happen to be the closest place to me is Outdoor Pro Shop, and those guys are phenomenal. But there's also a place down in Petaluma, Bodega Tackle. They are fantastic, and they carry all the lines of Pitbull Tackle and all that good stuff too. So anyways, little plug for those guys, even though I'm not getting anything for it, and that's okay. I really like their stuff, and it's well made. So the diamond bars I'm going to have on board are just the straight chrome and the glow in the dark. Now, when it comes to the straight chrome, if you have 1-pound chrome and you want to do a little something with glow in the dark, this is where the little tricks are going to come in. So it wouldn't hurt to pick up some of this. Let's get this opened up here. This is glow in the dark tape. Okay, comes in a sheet like this, and I got this from Outdoor Pro Shop. And I'm going to have links to all this stuff that I'm going to go over. So everything in that I'm showing you today is going to be in my description. So you guys can go and check it out. And if you need to look at getting some of this, you can do that. Anyway, so I have one piece that I cut here. And this is really just as simple as it gets. You could take your diamond bar, okay? And it's got like 4 sides to this diamond bar. And you could take a little strip of this glow in the dark right here tape. You peel the back side of this tape and you just stick it right on one of the areas here so it looks something like that, okay? And that way there, when you send this chrome bar down there, you've got a little bit of an attractant. You got a little something that's attracting fish to this diamond bar. And that's one of the things we're going to do when we're out there is we're going to put it to test to see how well one does over the other. So the chrome bar or the complete glow in the dark one, which one seems to perform better? We're going to do a test on that. And by the way, guys, if you haven't subscribed, oh man, I'm telling you what, you really, really ought to think about doing so. There is a ton of stuff we're going to be doing this year. Obviously salmon is out, and that is sad to say, but there is a lot of other opportunities, and there's things that we're going to be doing. I got a whole slew of things that I'm going to be going after. So you're definitely going to want to subscribe so you can stay on the latest information coming out. Matter of fact, here in the next few days, I'm going out for my first trip, San Francisco Bay, halibut. They've been doing phenomenal out there. I'll be doing a little trolling for some halis, and we'll see what pops on that. But yeah, I mean, like the 1st of August time, we're going to be, I'm going to actually go after some white sea bass down by 10 Mile Beach. And by July 15th, we'll be back doing some shallow rock fishing too. But yeah, so the beginning of August, we've got hopefully some white sea bass that will show up on some of the squid spawns that happen down in that area. And then by the end of August, it's going to be tuna, 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 and tuna. So albacore is what I'm going to be shooting for, and then going after the big boys, the big bluefins. Hopefully we'll see them showing back up in our waters as well. So subscribe. Going to want to stay tuned on this. All right. So diamond bars. So there's, like I said, you can take some strips of these glow in the dark pieces and put them on your chrome diamond bar if you want. That's one thing you can do. Another thing that you can do too is take and add a hoochie. Now these hoochies are phenomenal, and this is a glow in the dark hoochie. So you can take this glow in the dark hoochie, and I have a swivel on here, and this is actually a crane swivel crosslock snap. Okay, there's a package of it, one left in there. And again, I'll have links to all this. But you can take this and open it up. And these happen to be my favorite go-to ones because they are extremely heavy duty. These little snaps here, 127 pounds of strength to them. So they're phenomenal. About the toughest I've seen out there. So anyways, that's what I like to use. But take your diamond bar, put your swivel here from the hooch. Let's see if we can get this in there. There we go. And then snap this back up in place. And there you go. See? Look at that. So I'm holding it from the top of the swivel here now. Okay? And you have this hoochie all set up here. Got the hook in place. So now you have an assist hook up here, and you have a treble. Oh, wait a minute. What was that you said? You want to know how this all comes together? I'm going to show you right now. Here we go. So let's put this together. So the way I have my hoochies, I buy a package of these hoochies here. This is the double glow blue ones, bluish green. And they say they have several different colors with glow in the dark. So any of these will work just fine. Anyways, links again for all this stuff. And then what I do is I take one of these bead chains. All right. So let's, actually I'm just going to leave it in there, but I'll show you. So I take a bead chain. You guys kind of know what these bead chains are right here. And actually I'll get it out of the package. I want to make sure you guys see everything. All this packaging stuff is a pain. Here, let's get this out. All right, there it is. Okay, so this is a 6 bead chain. There it is, okay? And what I do is I get one of these hoochies, and I open up the hoochie, get all the little tentacle things out of the way, and I take the bead chain and I shove it inside the cavity of the hoochie, and I keep working it until I get the little top part of the this bead chain to come through the top of the hoochie here. Okay, so here's the bead chain, and here's the top of the bead chain coming up through. Once I do that, then I take one of these hooks, and these are 5-aught mustad hooks. They are super sharp, and they are stainless steel, and they actually are listed on here for salmon, but they actually do have a barb on them, which is fine for cod, so you don't have to worry about removing it. But this is a 5-aught here, and it's an open eye, so it's got a little open here on the eye right down in this area here. And you take that, I'm going to come a little bit closer, and I want to make sure you guys get to see all of this. But what I do is I take and I put the bead chain right, so it goes right into that little loop there. As soon as I can get it, there it is. Okay? And then it's in place like that. And then you just take a pair of pliers and squeeze the eye up so it's nice and locked in place. And that's it. So what you end up with is this hoochie here, and it's got the hook. The hook is placed beautifully right here by the bottom of the skirt, just about maybe an inch or so up from the skirt and the bottom of the skirt. and this thing will swivel around beautifully all the way around, and it doesn't get screwed up or anything by the tentacles because it's got all those beads in there. It's really quite cool, and I've caught a lot of fish with this. So that's how I do the hoochies with the hooks and the bead chain, and then I just put it with an extra swivel. Then I take this that has, let's see if I can hold this in such a way so all of you can see it. So there's this thing dangling right here, and then you have the bottom hook down here, the treble, and this just goes right to your terminal line on your fishing pole. And just click it right into there and you're good to go. Drop this straight down to the bottom and start working it. And what's really cool, and this has happened to me several of times, is you'll get a small fish on this hooch, and as you're kind of jigging this up and you feel that you got a little something small on here, all of a sudden you get this massive weight that you just feel on the jig, and you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. That's a big old lang that just happened to come up and smack this thing, looking at this little fish that was up here already hooked on this one. So that's happened many a times. And like I said, this same setup works great in the shallows. Just go with a lighter one. That's it. Instead of a pound, maybe use a 6-ounce diamond bar or an 8-ounce. Works like a champ. So that is it on that. Now, the other thing that you can do, instead of using a hooch, if you don't want to use a hooch, is you can use a shrimp fly. Now, the shrimp flies, I pretty much like to keep the shrimp flies to, if I'm going to do a leader like this one here. So these are pre-made leaders, and some of you have seen me catch rockfish, and I've had leaders like this on board. This part goes to the fishing line on the pole, and then you have the rest of these here that you can put. So typically you would put a shrimp fly here, you would put a shrimp fly on this one, and then this bottom one here would be your weight. But you certainly could do any kind of combination you want. You could even put a diamond bar on the bottom here, on this bottom one, and then put a shrimp fly up here somewhere. That would be fine. Just keep in mind that in our waters here in the state of California, only 2 hooks. So if you have a diamond bar setup like I have right here, this is maximum of what you can do. You've got a hook up here with your assist hook, and then you have your treble. That's all you're allowed. So anyways, and what I do with these shrimp flies, I like to add, again, it's all about adding a little bit of glow in the dark. So with these shrimp flies, I end up putting one of these glow-in-the-dark tails. And this is just so easy to do, it's stupid. So basically what I do is I pick up, here's the glow-in-the-dark tails. So, see what I've got here. Again, Outdoor Pro Shop. These here, let's get this opened up. Okay, so, you guys have seen these tails before. This is glow in the dark, and you just take your shrimp fly and just run it through all the way, and then bring it right out like so, and voila, you're all done. And there it is. And I actually like to have the little skirt thing kind of sitting out like this. So it's got a little fluff to it, actually a little more. As it's flickering in the water, you got water hitting it, the ocean hitting this part, and it just adds a little more dance to the whole thing, you know what I mean? And the fish will go apeshit on this. So anyways, simple to do, adds the glow in the dark. It's just another tool to have in your arsenal of things to give a shot. And let's see. Okay, now, something that we didn't have back then, and if we did, I never saw it, but I'm really excited at trying it. You guys know what this is. Big old swim baits. So what I've got here is a 1-pound head, big old hook, and then a beautiful big 8-inch swim bait by Pitbull tackle. I picked up another one too. This one is to the colors of Chovy. So anyways, 8-inchers. Big boys, big stuff. And I guess that's probably another thing too, is if you're using shrimp flies, and if you just happen to use, just the standard type of shrimp flies, and you don't do anything else to make it look like a bigger bait, there's a good chance you might pick up smaller fish. And if you want smaller fish, that's fine. But I know for myself, I try to get some of the bigger cod as much as possible. And so, anyways, that's what I'm going for with this. But again, whatever floats your boat, just try several different things when you're out there and see what works best for you. Like I said, I remember back in the day, these shrimp flies pulled out some huge reds. So even though they might be small, and yeah, you might encounter a few smaller rockfish, there are some big rockfish that will nail these things sideways. So anyways, yeah, I want to make sure I cover everything. Anyways, okay, so glow in the dark on this. A real simple thing that you can do too. Take your, let's see here. I'm going to take this one off the diamond bar. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to get this one off. All right, there's that one. So, and actually, oh, you know what? I had one already off. Let's just roll with that. I'm going to leave this one right here. So here, this one here does not have a cross snap on here. So this is just the the blue hoochie with the hook and the bead chain and the little bead head coming up through. So we're going to put this together with the Swimbait, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. So take your fishing pole. Bring out a little bit of line here. This is really simple. Really, really simple. So what I like to do is see if I can get this thing to stay. So take the swivel snap right here on my main line. Open this up. Okay. I put my jig on here first. So now I've got my Swimbait on here. And then I just take the hoochie, and I'll get it a little bit closer so you guys can see. So here, this is opened up now, and now here's the Swimbait, and then here's the hoochie, and I'm just going to put right through the tip of this. I can get it in here. There we go. Now it's in place, and then I just lock my snap back up. If I can get it. Yep, there we go. Now this is all set and ready to go. Okay? And the thing I like about this is that not only do you have the Swimbait, okay, but now you've added an assist hook here too. And so you have a secondary hook going on with glow in the dark, and this thing will sit right down here on the side. So here's the tension on this, right? It's nowhere near the tail, because sometimes if you have something too long with a secondary hook and it snags the tail, this is not gonna work correctly. It's gonna hinder the tail from acting properly as you're working this up and down on the bottom. So it's nice having this a little further up by the head. And again, it's just to add a little something as far as additional attractant to this Swimbait. And again, we're going to be putting all this stuff to the test and see really what works well and maybe what doesn't work so well. But I have a pretty good idea this is going to work very, very nicely. Anyways, so there you go. That's something that you can do with a Swimbait. And again, adding glow in the dark to it. Now, I do want to go over, let's get this stuff off of here. Okay, so with this pole, what I'm using is a medium to heavy action ugly stick made by Shakespeare. This pole is just a workhorse. It's just a brute of a beast of a pole. It's got killer backbone to it, and yet enough sensitivity on the tip. It's just nice to fight fish with. Some of you are very familiar with this pole. This is pretty much a go-to rockfish pole. It's just nice. It's great for fishing. Anyways, and I have that with a reel on here made by Saltist. This reel is probably 15 plus years old and has just been just dynamo. And I have it spooled up with 60-pound test, 60-pound braid. So, and again, I'll have links for the braid and all that stuff. But yeah, I've got it all loaded up with green braid on here. So 60-pound braid, covered that. Okay, so we did talk about, and one of the things I wanted to go over too. So if you take your snap swivel, right? And this is where, if you need to add more weight, this is what we did. So get this thing opened up. Okay. So let's add. Now on these jig heads, I was actually shocked. On these Swimbait jig heads, this is a 16 ounce and they have them all the way up to 32 ounce. They're a small fortune. This was like $6, $5.99. And then I think the 24 ounce and the 32 ounce were like over 10. So, but if you need it, you need it. You may want to, I think I'll probably have a 1.5, at least one on board, maybe a couple of them just in case. But I think the 1 pound is going to be enough. But I want to make sure you travel out 30 some odd miles to these deep areas. You want to make sure you've got everything on board you need to be able to, fish properly. Okay, so here we have the diamond bar, and let's just say for grins, for some reason we can't get down to the bottom or keep it down close to the bottom. Take your diamond bar, put it on through this clasp, and then you can add 8 ounces, or you can even add another full 1 ounce or 1 pound. So you got 8 ounce and then 1 pound. I'm just going to go ahead and put the 1 pound on here so you can see. Put it right again up through here. Okay, and then lock this into place. Okay, and there you go. You're all set. So now you've got plenty of weight, and you still could add the hoochie on the other side or something like that if you wanted to. So not a problem, but now you just have this one little swivel here that you would connect your main line to, and your one pound is here and another pound for your diamond bar, total of 2 pounds if you really need it to get down. Okay, so we've covered that. Let's see. Covered the pole. Okay, now let's talk about the actual fishing aspect with the pole. So some of you had mentioned about, well, if we have to use 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds of weight, do you sit there and jig the pole like you do in the shallows? I mean, that sounds like you would, be just wore out after, a few times going up and down with it. Well, back in the day, we used to have the 2 pound weights with the mono, and what we would do is most of the charter boats have that railing that goes around, and we would just rest the pole right on the rail, okay? And we would take the line with our hand, and we would, let me give myself a little line here, and a lot of times we would just take and just grab the line and just do this. Okay, now that was mono, so we didn't have to worry too much about cutting our hands. But if you're thinking about, doing jigging like this, you're going to definitely want to use a glove, especially with braid. You could cut the daylights out of your hand with it. Or you can just sit there and work it. I'm hoping that 1 pound is enough, because 1 pound, jigging 1 pound a little bit, and then just kind of come to a moment, let it rest for a second, see if you get pounced on. I mean, you'll just have to play around with it and see really what works. But use the boat as much as you can. If you can put it on the rail, and then maybe just take the line and pull instead of having to, doing all that working. Because 300 plus feet, yeah, it's gonna wear you out. Plus with all the with the extra weight. Let's see. Okay, so the other thing too. Now on charter boats, even on some private boats, you have the railing, and sometimes you have, on especially the charters, you have the rod holders that are attached to that railing. Now they will not allow you to put your rod in those rod holders when you're bottom fishing like that. They want you holding your pole. So there's not much you can do about that. But on a private boat, I still probably wouldn't want to put the pole into one of those rod holders that is mounted to the rail. But like on my boat, I have the ones that go into the gunnel. So they're built in, they're going through 2 inches of wood with the fiberglass, and they're recessed in there nicely, and they're backed with washers and nuts and all that stuff. So those are really secured. You could, in theory, actually put your pole into that rod holder, take your brake off, drop the line down. When it hits bottom, crank the reel up about 2 turns, and like I said, just leave the rod in the rod holder and just sit there and just pull the line. Give it a couple, 2, 3 good pulls, and then stop. Do it again, a couple, 3 more times, stop, and see if you get bit. If not, crank up about 5 or 6 turns. Repeat the process until you get bit. And when you get bit, leave the rod in the rod holder, and then just crank the fish on up instead of sitting there holding the pole and cranking, you know, that pound, pound and a half, even maybe 2 pounds of weight up. Let the pole just sit in the rod holder and just sit there and just crank the reel. When it gets up to the surface, then you can go ahead and either pull the pole and do whatever you need to. But what I'm trying to get at is just conserve your energy. It's all about working smarter, not harder. And if you can use the boat to your advantage, the better off. And at the end of the day, you won't be all tore up. So that's about the best advice I can give you guys on that. Some of you are real brutes out there and you're going to hold the pole all day. God bless you. You know what? We did it 35 years ago. I'm getting a little older now. I like to let the boat do some of the work, so I'm not coming home all destroyed. So anyways, that's that. One of the really important things that I added here to my entourage of tools is this. And I know some of you have been looking at this over here. This is a parachute, whatever they call it, parachute, or a sea anchor is probably a better name for it. But this sea anchor is really awesome, and this is, if you get out there, and even if the weather had said, you know what, it's going to be flat, calm, there's no wind all day, it's just going to be pristine. I have found that they're about 50-50 on the correct side on that. And if you make a 30-plus mile run, the last thing you want to do is get out there and in half an hour you start getting wind coming up, and now you're having a hell of a time trying to, you know, stay on top of really nice productive areas with fish. This sea anchor will absolutely help with that. So I've actually seen some videos where, you know, the guys were drifting at 3+ miles an hour, and they deployed one of these sea anchors, and it slowed them down to like a ½ mile an hour to a 1 mile an hour, depending on the size of the sea anchor you get. I got a fairly big, I always get, when it comes to these sea anchors, what I found out on YouTube was go one size bigger. Bigger just helps and helps keep the boat a little bit better positioned. But anyways, we'll be putting this thing to the test out there. But yeah, and again, I'll have a link for it. This was through Amazon. And yeah, sea anchor I think is going to be just another tool to have in your arsenal to help for fishing, for cod fishing. Okay, and last but not least, I did a video a while back on rock fishing, and this is a rockfish release clip. So let's just say you get a rockfish, maybe it's too small for you, or if it happens to be a rockfish you can't keep. And now we're going to be in that deeper water. There's a good chance of some yellow eyes, maybe even some cow cod. There's no retention on any of that stuff. So this release clip is absolutely awesome. I love it. I hook it right to my downrigger, and I have an 8-pound, I think it's a 6 or 8 pound weight on my downrigger, and this attached to it. I take the fish, put the lip in here, close these things up like that, and I can send this thing back down. And there's adjustments on here, 3 different adjustment depths for 100, 200, and 300 foot depth. So since I'm going to be fishing probably right around 300 feet, around in that area, I think the 200 would be well enough to get the fish back down to a deep enough area where then it has the best chance for survival. If I happen to be fishing in 320, 350 feet, then I'll just put it on the 300 foot setting. But anyways, if you can do it on a downrigger, way better for you, way easier, because you're just letting the downrigger, especially electric downrigger, letting it do all the work. But you could have a separate fishing pole, heavy duty one or something, and you could attach this to it. And anyways, it's all about just being, good stewards of the ocean, and with our precious resources, trying to take care of what we don't want instead of just throwing it on the surface and letting it die, and a horrible death that could be. Anyways, so hey guys, I hope I covered everything that I could for you. I can't think of anything else at this point. I'm really excited about fishing this deep water. I hope you guys are too. If you happen to see the bald eagle out there, give me a shout. I'm usually on channel 9, and I'd love to hear from you. I'd also love to hear in the comments any of you that have ideas or what you're kind of planning on doing. I hope that at least with all of this, you are able to find something that may help you add something to your arsenal. And I wish all of you absolutely great fishing this year. And I hope that you guys get into some nice cod, and then whatever you guys venture out from there. Anyways, hope you all be safe, and I look forward to seeing all of you on the next video, which hopefully will be a halibut fishing trip, my first one for 2023. Anyways, God bless you. I love all of you. Take care, and I'll see you on the next bald eagle fishing adventures, guys. See ya.